Yes. Thank you so much. I think I don't require this per se because yeah. Online, yeah. Yeah. Great. So I'll be recording this actually. So good morning, everyone. It's a very early morning for me as well. Uh, so hi, as Dr. Akshay has told already about me, I'm Dr. Ashish Kumar Srivastav. I am an assistant professor of law at Dharma Shastra National Law University. It's just 2 kilometers away from this campus, by the way. So it's not far away from here. I teach constitutional law. I also teach data protection law, and I also teach intricacies of technology and law also to a certain extent. My generic area of research is primarily data protection law, which is personal data protection law. And luckily, my book came out this year itself on the idea of personal data protection rights. I'm very thankful to Dr. Aparajit Ojha ma'am that she allowed me to take this lecture today. And this is a new tangent which I am touching upon because though I teach data protection law, but this is a new tangent. The idea of seeing AI adaptability in the idea of agriculture precision, which I truly believe is a good initiative to have. So we all know about this. The United Nations has this concept of sustainable development goals. The idea is we have to produce sufficient amount of food to ensure that we are able to feed everyone. And the target is to have a zero hunger. So in that concept, we know the land is limited. We know the resources are limited. How do we ensure that we are able to yield enough to suffice for the food for every person within India or even globally for that very matter? And AI will surely play a role. There's no denial of the fact. Uh, as per the AI adaptability tool, because you guys have already heard about the AI application itself, I don't think so. I'm the right person to talk about that phenomena. So you might be having using of computer visions possibly for finding out whether which crop will do good or not. You might be using the idea of large language model as chat GPTs or some other kind of chat bots which will be there for assisting the farmers as to at what time you should really go and start sowing the seeds, because that is the idea of precision farming. And I think this has already been applied in India, not completely, but there are few pockets in India where we are seeing application of AI in agriculture precision. If I'm not wrong, this is happening right now in Telangana as well. Yes, right. The very famous example of Sagu Bagu, which is there are chili farmers which are growing chilies and they are doing very good in that case as well. The yield has increased by 21%. Right. But now the question comes of what is the ethical and the data privacy aspect coming into play. We have to keep in mind right now we have not completely digitized that we should be more concerned about data protection right now. But gradually, as we are building this mechanism and ecosystem, it's a good time that we keep an eye upon that. So if I'm building a new technology of AI for applying the idea of AI precision in agriculture, I should always keep in mind that whether I am data privacy friendly or not. Because if tomorrow I have already adopted an ecosystem which is not data privacy friendly, I might be heading towards more penalty. This is going to happen. Now, just to start as to what is personal data, then I'll just jump onto the idea of what is agricultural data. And I'm expecting you guys will be helping me out because you guys are from the area of agriculture, hopefully, right? Can we do that? And let's keep it interactive. Let's keep it interactive. Okay, there's no such an expert lecturer here. It's more combined knowledge which we can produce. Okay, great. So right, I hope you know a bit about what is personal data, because we have to start somewhere. This is the base where we want to start. We need to understand what is personal data, then let us jump what is agricultural data and how that agricultural data would be related to a farmer or to the state or to a private corporation. Okay, so what do you understand by personal data? Let, let, let's do one thing. Let's have a raise of hand for answering questions. Sir, we can start with sir, then we'll come to ma'am. Yes. Hmm. Yes. Very good. Yes, that's correct. Ma'am? Yes. Very good. Ah, everything. Good. Ah, yes. More technical, you want to say something, sir? Yes. The scope is very wide. Yes. A more technical interpretation from the legal aspect would be that idea any data which is traceable back to a natural person, basically. So I'm a natural person. You can see that. Now the question would be, can you say my glasses are my personal data? And imagine this, that you're coming from your rooms to this particular session, possibly 5 minutes late. But in that case situation, and you find these glasses on the hallway, will you say this is my personal data? So you found this glass on your way. You do not know whose glasses are these, but yet can you say this is my personal data? Come on. Is it possible for you? What what are what unique identifiers will be there in these glasses to trace it back to me? Possibly my unique number. That my eyes number says minus 3 point. I won't tell. I won't tell. That's a personal data, right? If my glasses eyes number is minus XYZ, in that case, you will surely say this particular number is very unique identifier to a particular person. And if you have a little bit of background, you'll surely go and say, you know what? No, I do not have this number, because there are several people who are wearing glasses right now. Oh, I do not have this number. This number belongs to someone else. Possibly. I hope you're getting my point. So till that time, there is some kind of unique identifier which can be used to trace it back to you. That information will still always say your personal data. And this is what we have realized after AI coming into place. Earlier there were situations where we might not regard every data as personal data, but gradually what started happening is, because of AI coming into place, AI is able to process all so much of data, public data, so easily that it's quite easy for AI to tell that every data is relatable back to one individual. It was not possible 10 years back. Possibly you would have said, oh, this data belongs to no one. But now that AI is able to access so many public records, for him to process within 2 seconds, oh, this particular number belongs to this particular individual on this area. That's why every data has turned into a personal data, which was not possible earlier. Why is this important for our context? Because first of all, we need to understand. The idea is, when you talk about agricultural data, the question is, who owns the agricultural data? Again, the topic is data privacy challenges in agriculture, AI adoption. There's not a problem. You already understand how AI works much better than me, hopefully. And you know how AI works, but you always know the AI works upon a data, right? So if it is a public data, there's no problem. And when I say a public data, I mean a data which belongs to no one, or it's a general data to which no one makes a claims upon. Like we go upon Google Images and we start using some images, right? These are particularly data which do not have non-proprietary interest. And when I say non-proprietary interest, I mean there is no intellectual claim being made upon them. There might be few, but not to everyone. I hope that makes sense. So if you are using AI for the purpose of precision agriculture, you require to have data to be fed. And upon the processing of the data, the AI will be able to give you some output. But the problem is, if agricultural data is also personal data, in that case, consent becomes important. I hope that makes sense. Huh? Right? Now, so I hope you have understood what is personal data. The width and the scope is too large. It can include anything and everything which is traceable back to a natural person. So in the concept of agricultural data, who owns the agricultural data? Imagine I am a farmer, and I think this is a very wide open fact that in India, farmers, they do not own a lot of land. More than 67% of the Indian farmers own less than one hectare of land. That's how it has been going on, right? So now imagine I am a farmer. I have a land of my own. I grow sugar canes. And please do not judge me upon my agricultural knowledge. I do not have any agricultural background. My forefather had it, but I do not. But imagine I'm a farmer who tends to grow sugarcane in my agricultural land, right? Now, and I have a particular type of land, a particular type of soil. Obviously, I have to have a particular type of soil. I have a particular river source through which I give water to my agriculture saplings. Now the question is, can all of this, the land, the size of my farm, so the size of my agricultural land, what I am growing, from where I'm taking my water, and how much water I'm using, can all of this cumulatively be qualified as a personal data or not? Though these are our agricultural data, obviously, because in a broad heading, these are agricultural information. So these are agricultural data. There's no problem. But the question is, can this data also qualify as a personal data? Yes. Now, in that case, the question remains who this data belongs to. Does it belong to the farmer, right? The farmer, or does it belong to the private corporation or the private company which might have been using AI precision tool to advise the farmer that, you know what, this is the appropriate time, sow the seed now. I hope that makes sense. Though it seems very good. There's no denial of the fact. I am pro idea of precision farming. The yields are very good. There's no denial of the fact. But when you come from the angle of data privacy, the central argumentation of data privacy would be the individual, the natural person in this case. So please, yes. And if the natural person is the center of it, did we take his consent? If we take the consent, what kind of consequences might come by processing the data, and has he subjected himself to all those consequences or not? I hope that makes sense, right? Sure. If not, you can ask questions. I'm open for questions. No? Hmm. Yes, it is. Yeah, sure. In that case, there's no problem. If the land belongs to the government, it's a good thing. The government doesn't need to do anything. In fact, government already has an initiative they're planning right now, the Agri Stack. I think you guys must be knowing about this. Agri Stack is something where they are trying to integrate all the information regarding land holding to registry, uh, crop sowing time, as well as yielding information. That if you are a particular landholder in India, what you are yielding, how much have you yielded, and that information goes with the central government. That's not a problem. It's a very good thing to happen. But the problem might come in that the fact is that when you have taken and integrated all that information at one place, now the question is who has access to that data? If it's your government, there's no problem. But if that integrated information can be shared with someone else as well, then there's a problem. Imagine, I think it is hard to understand the sensitivity of the issue. But imagine this, just to take a small example. You might be using some kind of online application or an API itself for the purpose of taking a medical consultation, possibly Practo or something, no? Right? But whatever you share in Practo application with your doctor, will you be happy to share that information with someone else? Obviously not, because even when you share information in particular application where you're consulting a doctor, which is a sensitive information for you, the doctor might be saying, you know what, I know this person is suffering from this disease, I know at what time he has to take the medicine, I'll share this information with a pharmacist. Now what will happen? The pharmacist will start targeting him and saying, you know what, oh, this medicine which you require comes at this price, and at this time you have to eat it. I hope that makes sense. So the problem is not the idea that we integrate all this information at one place. It surely helps in India in yielding larger. But when it comes to the ethical questions or the data privacy question, we really need to ask a question: who is the owner of that agricultural data? Is it the farmer? Is it the company, the corporation which has produced the information because they had all the technologies to absorb the data, like the conception of geospatial data which they collect through drones, to satellite mapping, right? And the idea of computer vision. By the mechanism of computer vision, they are able to find out whether a particular crop will yield or not. What at what stage of disease the crop might be or might not be. So the question comes up, and all of this data is sensitive data, at least for the farmer, because in the market, if I know this particular farmer is going to produce this much, and this particular farmer is going to produce this much, that information can be very useful for a private corporation, knowing, you know what, it's a good time that I should invest in this and not in this. So can create disadvantage as well. So the real question is, when these informations are being created or observed, who has access to that information? We can still we do trust our government. That's not a problem. But the real question is, do other entities also have access to that data or not? And at the same time, did the farmer in question give his explicit consent or not? I know this seems like a very elitist concept, the idea of explicit consent. India has not been very pro to this idea. We tend to sign every document without even reading. Right? Possibly you might have agreed to the FDP by signing a document. You might not have read it. Did you? Makes my case. But it's okay. FDP is for knowledge purpose. There's no problem. Okay. So there's no problem with triple IT in that case. But for a farmer, land is everything. So if his data regarding how much his crop is going to yield in a year, that information is with some private corporation. Now the private corporations knows how I should manipulate this information in the market. How much yield is going to come from that area, right? And how much I can bargain with that farmer, that, you know what, I know how much you're going to produce. So don't tell me this. I'm going to pay you this much, take this much. I hope that makes sense. Right? That possibility lies. That possibility lies. And so until the time that possibility lies, we have to ensure that it is a more structured mechanism of taking consent and ensuring that data is not being abused. I hope that makes sense, right? Right. Can you go to I have it actually. So this is the first slide where we are trying to discuss what types of agriculture data can be there. You know, so there can be natural, environmental data, crop and production data, farm and operation data, and socio-economic and market data. Again, right from the input to the output, if you go by that bifurcation, right? We all know that all of these factors play a major role, right from the growing of the agricultural produce to the selling of it as well. So right from the weather to the idea as to what you have sown to what you have produced and how you have sold that item as. So all of that information turns into a data for us, right? Make sense? Great. Just to see a bifurcation as to what can come under the environmental data, right? The real time and historical data on temperature, rainfall, precipitation, humidity, wind speed, sunlight, climate change predictions, right? All of these are very important factors, at least for a farmland, that how the weather is going to play out, right? Then regarding the soil data, how is the quality of the soil? What is the pH level? Is it really fertile or not? Does it have the nutrients level required or not? Now this might not seem as a big thing for a farmer, but imagine this again. That's why I said the possibility of exploitation with data we do not know completely today. I'll I can give you one example to just to understand the scope and the width of personal data, how it can be abused or how it can go ahead. This happened in an examination. And again, a different example just to understand the context of personal data. This happened in an examination where Peter Novak, it's a very famous case which happened in European jurisdiction. Peter Novak, who was writing an examination for CA in Europe, in Ireland basically. And when he wrote that examination, he asked the examination department to allow him to access his answer sheets. Normally this is allowed. We have this idea of evaluation, re-evaluation for which you are allowed to see your copies. But he said, I want to see these copies. The controller of examination said, I will not allow you to see your copies. Then he filed a case. He said, you know what? Whatever I have written in the copy is my personal data. Why? So till this extent, we always used to talk that personal data is merely objective in nature, that there is a particular substance and the substance belongs to someone, and that's why there's a relationship, and that's why it's a personal data. But in the context of Peter Novak, what happens now is Peter Novak says, even my answer sheet is my personal data. Why? Because whatever I have written there is an intellectual reflection of me, my personality, and thus is my personal data. The court of justice in European Union accepted the fact. He said, yes, you're right. This is your personal data. But this tells us, till the time the possibility remains, possibility that you're able to trace back that element back to a natural person, it will still be a personal data. In this case, it's agricultural data, right? But that data can be still utilized by the companies, the corporations, or some other entities which have access to this, because the stakeholders in this is too large stakeholders, right from the person who's growing it, right from the person who's processing it, right from the person who's selling it. So because of so many large stakeholders, everyone has access to that data. Now we cannot stop someone from manipulating it as well. So how do we really ensure that the data, when it goes to the person who is putting the output, to the person who's processing it, and to the person who's selling it, that the data remains safe, in this whole supply chain? I hope that makes sense, right? So this is some example to understand what can come within the agricultural data. And I'm pretty sure when we see this, I don't think that this we would have thought, oh, this is not a big thing to happen. But now we realize that every element has some amount of traceability back, which can qualify as a personal data, or in this case, the agricultural data. Make sense? Sure? Right. This is the crop and production data. What kind of information can be regarded in this as agricultural information? Ah, like what types of crops you're growing, what varieties you have, what cultivators you have, what kind of seeds you're using, planting dates, spacing, crop calendar, what is the history of the yield of your land, how much have you produced last year, or how much you're going to produce this year. All of this turns to an agricultural information. And if you have a livestock, what is the number of that? Does it make sense? Sure. Right. Now, this is the operational data, like what kind of, how much fertilizer you're using, what type of pesticides you're using, right? Do you have a labor force where in your farmland which is there to help you out? If they are, what are their working hours, how do they work, right? All of that information becomes a part of the agricultural information in general, right? This is more bifurcated list of items, but they are still a majorly part of what we call as agricultural data to be there. Any questions upon that? Sure. Great. Right. So this is the point where we come to the selling of selling of the produce which we have produced, right? What is the consumer behavior, demand analysis, trade volumes, farm income, turnover, what kind of credit lines you have for yourself, right? What are your personal informations regarding the farmer who's selling it? And what are the policies regarding agriculture laws, right? Any question? No? Great. Now, this is what I believe challenges in integration of agricultural data in AI adoption for agriculture precision, which I normally believe is. First, which I believe is data interoperability. Uh, you must have heard this term interoperability time and again, and we are already using it as well. Like if you have payment applications with you, possibly Google Pay, Paytm, or some other kind of application you might be using for making payments as well, right? But we know that payment application is one, but it might be linked to several banks, and we might be using different banks to make different payments as well. So how is it possible that several banks are able to use one application to make payments? This is interoperability because the data or the is interoperable. So they understand the same language and it can easily be used by other phenomena. But in the context, if you want to adopt AI for agriculture precision, there might be a tricky problem. The problem might be that if you really want to adopt AI in agriculture precision, you might have private corporations coming in, and they might have different sets of technologies for applying AI in agriculture precision. For example, there might be a company which might be having drones to study land mapping. There might be a different company which has computer vision to understand the crop yield. I hope that makes sense. So there might be different kind of technologies which are there to understand the same farmland. Another question is, they all produce different data, but these data will not be interoperable. So someone might have one set of data, which is regarding the crop yield. Someone might have the land mapping data, but they cannot exchange with each other. Why? Because these companies, which are separate in their existence, will never share data with each other because the data will not be interoperable. Because again, it's a competitive market. They want to say, this is my data, I will not share with anyone. But will that help us to integrate AI completely? It will not, because AI will require all the three data. It requires the land mapping as well. It requires the crop yielding sensors as data as well. It also requires computer visions, how a yield will come out or not. So all of that data needs to be integrated. But because you have different companies having different set of technologies to understand the same land, possibly integration might not be possible because there is no interoperability. I hope that makes sense. So I believe this might be one concern which might come in near future when you start integrating AI into the agriculture precision, that there might be the interoperability, right? It's simple. Like if someone here right now who speaks Chinese and I who might speak in Hindi, or someone else who might be from Bangalore speaking Kannada, make them three sit together and let them observe the same land and let them explain what they saw, right? So a person from Kannada might see something else, and he has a different layer of language to explain it. A person from China might have a different language. A person from Hindi might have a different language. So we all three have data with each other, but the problem is we are not able to intercommunicate. The same logic goes for technological innovation as well. That how you process data and that data can be transferred easily or not, that becomes a point of contention. If the technologies are different, if the companies offering these services are different, their data might be a very isolated piece of information which cannot be interoperated with someone else. Thus not yielding the exact result which we were expecting to have in the context of AI precision in agriculture farming. And that is why I think that is one of the major reasons when Indian government takes up this pilot projects for ensuring this precision farming, they give it to one particular company or corporation. Like for example, when we discuss the example of Telangana, that how Telangana is using this Sagu Bagu project. The Sagu Bagu project is primarily being run by World Economic Forum in collaboration with Microsoft, if I'm not wrong in this concept. So Microsoft is ensuring that there is a unified farmer identity. It is ensuring whatever data comes from this technological innovation is integrated at one place. And now what happens is Once the information is at one place, now a simple thing has to be done. The farmer gets a message. So this is the time you need to sow the seed. Go and sow it right now. So he knows when a message comes in, now is the time to go in. No, he'll go and sow the seed. Now is the time to cut your crops. Okay, I'll go and do it right now. Right? So unification of data at one place is a good measure because it also ensures integration of technological data coming at one place and allowing processing and thus sending a good advice to the farmer as to what has to be done. I hope that makes sense in reference to AI for agriculture precision. Sure? Any question? Great. The second aspect would be data quality. This is the most required thing to have. So data quality is irrespective, is agnostic. Data quality is agnostic. When I say this, I mean that the idea of data quality is required in any kind of AI application. Irrespective, you're using AI for farming or agricultural produce, you'll always require quality data for AI training. I'll give you one example just to understand how data quality really matters. Okay, this case happened with a very big tech company. Happened around 2014, and the case was very famous because that tech company, which I'm not naming right now, but we all use their services, by the way, all of us. Uh, this tech company had an opening for a job position, and this tech company has a very unique phenomena. They have a portal which is AI driven and which shortlists the candidates for interview. This is happening gradually across India as well now. So now what happens is, of all the application which they received for that position, the AI portal has shortlisted somehow only male candidates for interview. And this is not the first time. Across the globe, this has been happening. Whenever they shortlist, the AI application, when they shortlist an individual, they normally shortlist a male over a female. Why do you think? What do you think what would be the reason underlying this? Come on, think. It is trained like that. And you can also say the data upon which it has been trained, the data has been biased for centuries or for decades. For example, in this case situation, when that AI portal shortlisted only male candidates over the female candidates, the underlying reason which they later on tried finding out was that the fact that they wanted more efficient worker. And they thought that male who can stay longer in the office will be efficient. So if in a resume which was shortlisted by them and all the application which they received, if the AI found mention of any kind of feminine name or feminine word, it will it will not shortlist that is resume. So you might be a girl who has studied in a particular college. If your name is Miss XYZ, you're not shortlisted. Irrespective, your resume might be very good. You might have done a good business course in Harvard itself. Doesn't matter. What really matters is the feminine thing you should have. I hope that makes sense. So I hope you got an idea. And that's why I said data quality is agnostic. Meaning what? AI in any field, be it agriculture, be it education. In Netherlands, they have this mechanism where they allow teachers promotion on the basis of feedback of students. I don't know how many of you are teachers here. If you are, if you are, let's be very about this. In Netherlands, they allow AI to promote teachers or even to remove teachers, by the way, on the feedback of students. Now imagine how risky is that. I hope that makes sense. So the quality of data upon which you're training an AI becomes very important. If the quality itself is biased, understudied would be a good term to use, because in cases of agriculture farming, you have to be very precise as to what you're growing. If you're understudied, if you do not take up the right time and right temperature, the yield will not come out. That's how sensitive it is. So for AI application in concept of your agriculture precision, it's very required that data quality upon which you're training the AI is also very, very precise. And that's only possible if you have taken the farmer into confidence, who might be knowing the farmland for way too long to be in a position to tell, oh, this is my farmland. I've been living here for this many years. I know how it really works. So I'm ready to give you this data. But if they are dependent upon the data which are there in government repository in the form of documents, documented information, and turning them to digitized information might still lack some intricacies, and which might lead to some kind of harsh reality coming in. Again, in India, we do not have any much case studies, but there have been case studies in European studies where they have started using AI in agriculture precision. I'll just show you one example of that. This is the example, right? So this is an example from Switzerland. Again, I am not trying to make a comparative study. It's not a good thing to do. But in this context, to understand how far AI can be utilized for the purpose of agriculture precision. This happened in the case of Switzerland, where a farmer lost his cow, a milking cow, probably because of the malfunction which happened with AI tool. So he had a device for milking the cow, all automated. There's no problem as such, but that automated tool was attacked by a malware, right? And because it was attacked by a malware, it stopped milking the cow, and the cow was in deep pain, right? While staying in deep pain, the same application, the same device also used to give vitals of the cow to the farmer. That, you know what, your cow is doing this. You must have know about this, right? That when you go to an hospital also, there are devices which tells the vitals of the patient as well. This device, which was there for milking the cow, also gave the vitals of the cow as well. That how is the is she feeling pain, and is the pain good enough to send him to even kill her? In this case, the vitals were not showing anymore, which led that the cow died gradually. Now, what happened in this case situation? Because it's a AI tool which you are using normally for the purpose of your agricultural farming or even for livestock for purpose. Now, because you're using all digitized mechanism, it's subject to ransomware as well or malware as well. What is a malware? Malware is basically a sorry, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. This is the news. This is from 7th August, 7 August 2024, Switzerland. And that's why I said, for us to speak about data privacy right now in India, it will be still too early because we have not digitized that much to say that we will be able to apply like them. Again, for European countries, for Western countries, yes. For a very simple reason, Dr. Amartya Sen says one thing. He says that the Eastern countries have too much population. That means too much labor. So labor is cheaper here. That's why we use human beings to do all these things. But in European countries, the labor is very expensive. That's why they depend more upon technology. That's why they're seeing this kind of technological development. That's why they have self-driving cars, the idea of enforcement mechanism through AI. But you won't see the same happening in the in Indian subcontinent because the labor is still cheap. So for us to develop a self-driving car will be more expensive than hiring two people to drive a car. That's why technological development is little laid back. And that's why I said at the very starting of the lecture, it is too early to even to think about this right now, because to even digitize all that data and then start applying in AI will take some time. Though the central government is very adamant about this, by the way. Central government, through the mechanism of its national framework for agricultural digitization, is pushing for AgriStack. You can search this name, AgriStack. You'll find it in the Google itself. In the AgriStack, it's a integrated federated information. It's a integrated federated information about all the land holdings in India, what kind of crops they are yielding. And so this information can be utilized by the government and this also helps the government to deliver the kind of benefits which are to be delivered to the farmer, because there are so many yojanas and schemes for the farmers. But now, because you have integrated information, the government can use that information to also deliver these beneficiary schemes, like the idea of Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana, Pradhan Mantri Kisan Rojgar Yojana, or some other yojana for that very matter. So integrated information helps the government to doing so. The only risk, if this develops full scale tomorrow, would be that who has access to those information, which I just told you, that access to that kind of personal data or agricultural data might still allow market manipulation happening. So what is your safety measure for that? Make sense? Sure. Great. This is an example which happened in California, where they had this grocery store which was primarily based on portal base. Basically, the portal got hacked, so they did not know how much grocery was there in the stock or not, and it all got wasted. So moment you turn more digitized, possibility of these kind of attacks are also there. So how do you tackle them? You know? Let's go back to a good example would be this as well. This happened with Indian Council of Agricultural Research, by the way. This happened in this April 2025, with the website of the Indian Council of Agricultural Research was also hacked, by the way. So luckily, no, I cannot say luckily in this case, but the information which got leaked or hacked was recruitment information. This was not, even that is a sensitive information, by the way. So it's not lucky at all. In this case situation, the information which got leaked was recruitment information regarding the employees who work for them. But you got an idea. Imagine now, this is a very big institution in India. Now, if they had, and if they do surely have access to so much sensitive information regarding agricultural land, now if they get hacked, what happens to that information? And this is not the first case. India, we normally see that this happens in India. There are so many ransomware attacks because in total, India receives around 66,000 attacks per week on their major institutions, be it IRCTC, be it your AIMS, be it your any other governmental institution. They are facing around 66,000 attacks every day, and we're trying to block them. That's why we have this IT administration trying to do that. But there would be one attack which will lead to one breach gradually. So how do you really ensure safety of the data there? And if that data goes outside, what are the repercussions you're going to face? I hope that makes sense. Sure. Great. Let's go back to the slide we were discussing. Right, possible challenges, data quality. The third aspect, which would be a challenge in the idea of integration of your AI in the agriculture precision, would surely be digital literacy. This is one concern I think the whole of India is concerned about. Not just not farmers, this is us as well. Digital literacy is I think we all know about this. We must have heard this term time and again. And in this context, the stakeholder would be the farmer for us, the farmer organization. How good or how literate they are in context of usage of digital technologies upon their farmland. And what if they are not? Because again, you want to make the farmers independent and empowered to understand what kind of consequences might be opened up if their farms are subjected to such kind of technologies. Okay, because you don't want them to be mere objects in the hands of few corporations or few companies or even the government for that very matter. You want them to make more informed choices. Oh, you know what? I think my farm requires new sensors. So I'll make a choice whether do I want to have it or I do not want to have it. But to make that choice that you want to have a sensor or not also requires to understand the consequences of it. Where is that data going? Who is using that data? I hope that makes sense to everyone, right? So digital literacy is I think is needed for everyone, irrespective. Again, this is also an agnostic term. This is required by all of us as well. Digital literacy in reference to banking, securities, everything is required by the very fact. It's required for the agriculture as well. Make sense? Great. Right, this is a question we have been trying to answer. This is a question we're trying to answer from throughout the starting of the lecture. Is the concept of data ownership. I insist all of you to read the first line of this slide, not the data ownership, it's a question mark. Read the first line, which also, is it the farmer? Just read it carefully once. Should we be the farmer? You believe so? Great. Because you believe in the concept of a personal data and you believe agriculture data is a, but I know here's a catch. The catch is, and no, it's not more of a catch, it's more of a descriptive analysis which we had. Now, the fact that you have AgriStack and the fact that every state government gradually is adopting AgriStack in their own state governments, and they have already taken and started mapping the lands altogether. Do you think there were proper mechanisms for taking consent? Again, this becomes a little questionable phenomena itself. Even in the context of Telangana, where they have this Sagu Bagu scheme going on right now. In the Sagu Bagu scheme, when the land ownership stays with the farmer, by the way, but the agricultural produce of the land has increased because of the usage of AI precision tools. Was there really a transferring of consent from the farmers to the corporation or not? This is one question which still needs to be answered. If someone really wants to go into the details of this, because this is an area I still lack a research upon, you can look into the data management framework. Like Telangana government entered into with Microsoft and with the World Economic Forum into a data management framework before starting this program, Sagu Bagu. So I insist all of you, it's a 16-page document. Go through the document once and try finding this answer. Do you believe there was an explicit consent transferring from the farmer the people who are the real stakeholders with the corporation or not for using of their land for the using of AI precision tools. Okay, you'll find it easily on Google. So take it as an exercise for yourself. I do not know if I'm allowed to give you exercises, but take it as a research study for yourself if you want to have it. That was there explicit consent being given or not? It's a 16-page document, not more than that. This is one thing we have to keep in mind. One of the very basis of processing of personal data or be it agricultural data will always be consent. And not just any consent, a consent which is based upon unambiguity, which is determined, and this is not ambiguous. So it should not be vague. It should be very determined that I am taking your data for this very purpose, not beyond that. So this has to be the base of the starting consent. The second question of this framework would be, what kind of security measures do you have with your mechanisms to ensure my data will not be accessed by someone else? Because when we discuss the concept of personal data, we have this concept what we call as personal data breach. Okay. Now, personal data breach happens in three forms. One is what we call as the idea of availability breach. The other is confidentiality breach. And the third is integrity breach. Okay. So there are three mechanisms in which a personal data breach may take place. One is availability breach, other is confidentiality breach, and the third is integrity breach. Only three ways possible to breach a personal data. That's how we have understood, and that's how it has been happening across the globe. When I say confidentiality breach, I literally mean that my data which I have shared with you should not be accessed by anyone else. Okay. But keep in mind, this is applicable only if you understand the value of your data. Like when we started seeing this bifurcation of data, I hope this has embedded some thoughts in your mind that, you know what, yes, we never thought like this, but there is more depth in this data. Something which we thought was merely agricultural tool to produce more yields, but this data can have some kind of consequences which might we did not know about. Right? So first you have to attach some value to your data. You have to agree to the fact that if agricultural information gets leaked, you might be at a disadvantage. And that's why if I have shared my data with you, in this case, the agricultural information with you, I should be assured that there would not be a confidentiality breach. You won't allow this data to be shared with anyone else. That is why third-party sharing of data is not a very acceptable practice across the globe. Be it your e-commerce in India, be it even your government itself, be it your any kind of government application which you have with yourself. It is not an accepted practice to allow third-party sharing, because I did not give my information to third party. I gave it to you. Now, when I gave you the agricultural information, it's upon you to ensure there is no confidentiality breach coming into place. The second kind of breach, what we call is a breach we call as availability breach. Availability breach literally means that my data should be available with me for 24/7. Meaning what? Even if I have given a data to you for processing it, and while you're processing it, there has to be transparency. And whenever I want to access that data, you should allow me to access that data. But if in case you stop me from accessing the data, that might seem some kind of malintention. That why are you not allowing me to see my own data? There must be something happening which for reason you're not allowing me to do so. I hope that makes sense. So in cases of availability breaches, if you're not able to access your data back from in this case, your company, corporation, or even the government for that very matter, there is a possibility of an availability breach that you're not able to available your own data against the corporations or the company. I hope that makes sense. And the third, what we call as the integrity breach. That means you have manipulated the data. You have done something with the integrity of the data, which is against my ownership right. We have to keep in mind the idea of personal data, or be it this tangent of agricultural data. This will still remain an idea of ownership of the farmer in this case situation. So the farmer should believe that, you know what, when you manipulate this data, you're not only manipulating a data, you're manipulating my choices, you're manipulating my ownership, which I cannot allow so. I hope that makes sense. So this is more on the lines of empowering the real stakeholder, who is the person who is seeing it. I hope that makes sense, right? Great. So these are the possible challenges in integration, data ownership, which we discussed, that how it's a very difficult task, because we all know when this starts happening, what normally happens is, if you are a farmer and I'm going to use your land for particular produce, I might be McDonald's, I might be a Burger King, or I might be some other corporations who has done some kind of agreement with the landowner and said, you know what, I'm going to use your land to produce this type of particular potato or some other kind of crops. for my particular franchise. And I'm not, again, I should not have named these corporations, but you got an idea. So how will they go about this? The first thing they'll do is they'll always have a boilerplate agreement. And because again, a boilerplate agreement is basically an agreement which is very sharply or shrewdly made, ensuring that in a way you have already given your consent. Right? For example, that I mean discuss the phenomena that you sign a document to do this FDP. And did we ask if you guys read the document? You said no. But there is some amount of mutual trust that we know what FDP, there's nothing to harm in that, right? But the fact remains that when you're entering into this kind of agreements with some foreign corporation or even Indian corporation or an Indian government as well, and in those agreement itself provides that, you know what, you have given all the rights to the produce of the land to the person, all the rights to the information created upon that land. You lost the battle there. I hope that makes sense, right? So our agenda primarily would be, if we are able to create this framework, would be to empower the farmer, the real stakeholder, to be in a position to understand that what is he consenting for, है ना? And that might require an explicit consent. And to give an explicit consent, we might need to give him a more detailed understanding as to what kind of consequence we are going to make you to subject to. For example, this is a very common practice in European countries, at least. Like at the end of this lecture, possibly we might have some kind of photo, hopefully, right? Like I'm not with me for sure, but other people altogether. But when you're taking a group photo as well, and it's a digital photo, the question will still remain: have you consented for it? Has everyone in that group photo consented for it? Now, in European countries, this is a practice. They have a separate room, which with a board outside telling them that this room is for group photo, where your digital photos will be taken. And thus, if you come within this room, we accept that you have to give an explicit consent for this. I hope that makes sense to all of you. So that kind of empowerment is required to be done of the real stakeholder to be in a position to understand what kind of consequences he might be subjected to if in case he signs an agreement altogether. And that's a responsibility upon the company, corporation, government, be it state or the central, while taking over the information from that person. Make sense? Sure. Uh, right. Let's move a little forward. This is what we have already saw. What kind of possible threats can be there if there is a breach of a particular kind of data in this case situation? Like in case if there's a breach of a soil data, which we discussed, that how soil has so many layers of information underlying it, the pH level, the nutrient level, the kind of yield it has been having for years, right? How it will impact if the data gets breached, what kind of impact it can have. We discussed that how it might have an impact upon market manipulation. When I know your particular land is not going to produce that much, and I know this kind of land going to produce that much, I will be in a you might be in a very unequal bargaining position against me. The loss of bargaining power is the prime highlight of the breach of soil data or the breach of land data. Land data, primarily your history which you have for yourself. If that data gets lost, what happens? A possibility of identity theft coming into place. That, you know what, this land belongs to me, not to you. I hope that makes sense. Right? Should I move forward? Yes. Now this is a breach of a crop data which might have. And again, this is from a very futuristic aspect to see. Again, India still has to digitize first of all to be in a position to train its AI. Just be patient with me for one more slide, and then I'll surely open for Q&A if there is a Q&A. I know this is the last day of your FDP as well, so right. I'll just jump to my last slide, which I had made. We have already discussed this phenomena. And this is what we have been discussing throughout between this session. Telangana Agri Pilot Project, Sagu Bagu. Right. Again, guys can still do a very simple Google search to find all of this. And I'll be more than happy to leave behind the PPT PowerPoint for all of you for reference, if you use it in near future. Right. These are some relevant sections which are there for ransomware and malware. And if you get time, I insist all of you to read these sections as well, just to get a better idea. And these are the suggestions which I wanted to make in the concept of integration of AI and agriculture precision farming. This is primarily which I'm trying to insist upon, that these factors should be there to ensure there is more safety measures or more sound integration of AI in agricultural precision farming. Like the idea of human in the loop approach. You must have heard this term, the human in the loop approach, that you don't insist too much upon the AI, but you also have the person who has been yielding that farm or that agricultural land for so long. You don't want to be dependent upon so much on the AI that you might make a wrong choice. Because sometimes even sensors pick up information which might not be there. And thus what will happen is you have made a wrong decision upon a wrong data. So in that case, ask the person who has been yielding that land for decades to tell you, oh, how do you believe about this data? Is this right information given by the sensor or not? What if the sensor has read it wrongly and I do a wrong thing in that case situation? So human in the loop approach always has to be there. The person who has been working upon the land is better positioned even than AI as well in some situations. I hope that makes sense. Second, there has to be transparency, has to be the key. You have, please, no. So transparency has to be the key. The idea is that you have to ensure, even if I have shared the data with a company, corporation, central government, state government, the government or the entity per se is always keeping me in the loop as to what is happening and at what level my data is. This is what we also call as right to access. Like if I'm sharing my data with any kind of tech application, be it Swiggy, be it Zomato, be it Amazon, be it Myntra, or some other application for that very matter, I always want to know what is happening with my data. Just like with my banking sector as well. Imagine you just receive a message which says 2 rupees have been deducted from your account. You surely want to know what is happening to you for your data, financial data, right? The same logic goes here as well. Transparency has to be the key. The farmer has to be keep updated as to what is happening to his information. In this case, it's the agricultural information. Now, the third is a little technical aspect to be. It's the idea of data protection impact assessment. It's a yearly tool which we normally have. This tool is normally used for the purpose of finding out the gaps in the application of AI technologies. So, or not only AI technologies, any other technology which you're using for the processing of the data. For example, in this room, when we are sitting right now, okay, what amount of our data has been collected? Can anyone tell us? And try doing this exercise. This is the concept of data protection impact assessment. The idea is to find out what data underlies with a person and what kind of security measures does that person has to ensure the safety of the data. So in this context, when I ask this question to all of you, while standing in this room and you guys sitting in this room, what amount of data regarding you or me has been taken so far? Think about that. And what can be the possible loophole for that? And what can be the measure to address that loophole just to ensure the data remains safe? Because when you're sitting in this classroom, and even if you're getting recorded to TV, if there is one, there is no. Camera is there. Oh, camera is there, right? Right. So even if you're getting recorded with a camera right now and the data is going right now, who will have access to that data? Right. And to with whom that access will be shared? Possibly you might have shared the data only for the purpose of FDP. But now imagine the data get into hands of someone else. Are you okay with that? Again, nothing against triple IT for sure. Nothing against triple IT for that. But I'm just trying to make a point here. Idea is when you have given data to a company, corporation, they should take an impact assessment as well to find out what can be the possible loopholes from which a breach might happen. Okay. The fourth, again, which we have discussed, is the idea of digital literacy, that we have to ensure there is literacy of the relevant stakeholders. They are not just mere objects upon whom you're imposing your technology, because it doesn't seem right. It seems exploitative and imperialist in some way. It is seems like imperialist in some way, right? Right to opt out and object. This is one right which is getting a very lot of traction across the globe. Right to opt out literally means if in case you're not very satisfied with the technology which has come into place, you should be allowed to opt out of this. You're not bound to continue with this technology forever and ever. You have an option to opt out as well. And this is more upon the human rights centric approach. And the second last right is right to explanation in native language. Right to explanation is again is a very unique right and a very novel right, getting a lot of traction. The idea is just to ensure that whatever is happening by an AI, it should be explainable to the relevant stakeholder, that how it came to a conclusion. When we pick up this example of that particular tech giant, which only shortlisted male employees but not the female employees, in that case, don't you believe the female employee which were not shortlisted had a right to be explained why AI only chose male, not female, right? There must be a reason for this. Like the idea of in Netherlands, when they are using the AI to promote teachers or even to remove teachers, don't you believe the teachers who are removed have a right to be explained why the AI removed them, right? Similarly, the same logic applies in the cases of using of AI in agriculture precision farming as well. The farmer or the person relevant stakeholder should be also be given explanation as to why the AI made the decision the way it made it. I hope that makes sense. Right? So this is making automation or the idea of AI more explainable to us. The right to explanation. The word itself says explain. Right? And the right is on, and the last is the accumulation of all these points. This is basically emphasizing upon the bargaining power. All of this will not matter at all. And again, it will not matter at all because till the time we do not have the real bargaining power. It's just like going to a vendor shop and the vendor shop says, and you say, I want to buy a sari. And he says, take this one, go. You say, okay, I'll go. But will you really say this was a good bargaining power? Ah, come on. Surely not, because you'll surely say, oh, I have been influenced. I have been given something which I didn't want it, but I have to take what I have been given. But so, but you won't say this is human dignity. You won't say this is human empowerment. Human empowerment will still demand that what really belongs to you, you're able to bargain for that. Right? So if agriculture information really belongs to a farmer, he should be in a position to know, you know what, for what stake you're taking my land for what purpose you're taking the information from my land from. The real objective is to bring him at that bargaining power state. Okay, I'll end upon that note. If in case if there are any questions, we can. I am happy to answer the questions. Huh. Huh. So right to opt out slash object. So these are like quite to a large extent similar to each other, but a right to object is more upon the idea that we don't want it to be subjected to AI. So the same thing, that idea of Netherlands having a automation tool to promote teachers or even to either to remove them. So on the basis of human right, there are sometimes we don't want to be subjected to AI itself. So it's a right to object. I don't want to be subjected to this. For example, in similarly, same thing happened in Netherlands again. In Netherlands, when you have this Uber and Ola, this application of Uber and Ola was using algorithm to deny rides to few drivers, and even removing or even delisting few drivers from taking up new rides. So they made a association and they asked a question, how are you doing so? So there was no particular fair criteria on the basis of which the algorithm came to a conclusion. And that is why they said we don't want to be subjected to algorithms. So right to object is basically you don't want to be subjected to AI. I want a human person to be judging me in that case situation. Right? Are there any questions? Uh, yes, yes. Uh, uh. So again, this is a very niche area right now, not developed so far. But even if in case of agricultural data, we want to have some kind of format coming into place, you really need to ask a question. What kind of data, like we have to do some role play in this concept. Imagine if I am the farmer sitting in my farmland and a company comes towards me and saying, you know what, we'll ensure you greater yields. Don't worry from next year. You'll produce a lot of great crops for next year. Okay. I'm happy for that. But in that case, if they start asking me this question that I want to take this data, this data, this data, this data from your land, in that case situation, you have to ask a question back to him. Okay, I understand you want to take this data, and this data, but why do you require this data? So that idea of ticking, which we talk about in the cases of medical data, when we have this ticking boxes to tell I'm accepting the terms and condition of this XYZ hospital. The same kind of terminology might also come into agriculture information as well. And I'm just not limiting to agricultural data. As the data protection culture gets much more embedded within Indian society, this is going to happen with every discipline. Right? That you might have a set of check boxes which you have to complete before you take so much. Yes, yes. Consent along with technical measures to ensure that the data will be safe. Like when we are taking your data here, we're ensuring the data will be safe here. So when I take your consent, that form has to be very explicit about it. That I'm taking this information regarding you, and don't worry, this information will be safe with me under these measures. That's good enough for now, at least. Mhm. Are there any other questions? Please. Yes, yes, yes. हाँ, yes, 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 yes. Yes, yes, yes. Hmm. Yes. Because of the bargaining power is very less now, we can't do anything in that. Yes, yes. Mhm. You don't need to reveal the bank here, by the way. Even that is a personal information. Yes, yes, sorry. Uh, Yes, yes, yes. Uh, uh, yes, yes, yes. Okay, great. Uh, 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 okay, 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 okay. Hmm. Yes, sir. Uh, uh. Y- y- Yes, makes sense, makes sense. So, in this context, even if this session is happening right now, I believe after 1 hour we're in a position that we are more digitally literate. Hopefully, I'm not saying that we are completely. Even I'm not that completely, but at least after this 1 hour, we're in a position that we are digitally literate. I- yes, think it like you already have an Indian constitution, but do you believe that every one of the Indian citizen is very well versed with the fundamental rights or even duties? Duties, yeah. Are we? Come on, I don't think so, right? The same logic goes for digital literacy as well. It is upon our responsibility as working professionals to take out times from our jobs to go to these rural areas and inform them, and even sometimes organize them about around these concerns. And I do not mean in a very protesting manner. And this again, this might be seen as a wrong perspective, but it's not an idea. Idea is that we need to go them and tell them that these are the rights you have for yourself. For example, DNLU, where I teach, Dharmashastra National University, we have monthly Nukkad Nataks. The objective of Nukkad Nataks is just to go in the public, general public itself, and inform them about their rights, be it cybersecurity, be it digital literacy, and be it the idea of fundamental rights. So I think as a working professional, is because as you said, we are a more intellectual group, at least in society at large. By default, it's a corresponding responsibility as well. Then we need to go and do so. So that I think that should fulfill the objective. So my research was particularly for the purpose of on a personal data protection. Yeah, but now that I saw this tangent, I really do not know. I think this is something which is an organic growth, just like an organic farm. Acha, regarding this, so R is mostly regarding finding the most efficient manner where we can ensure that the stakeholders, the relevant stakeholders, which in this case would be the companies, the corporations who are investing in agri stack, even they are happy, and the farmers who are giving away the data and getting a gooder yield, even they are happy. Because it is similar to that. There might be predatory pricing. Today, the policies might seem very good to a farmer. Oh, I'm getting good yield today. I'm getting good price at this particular platform. But what if gradually they are making you dependent upon them? And once you're in a position of dependency, what if they turn the table and now you have nowhere else to go? And then they rise the prices. The idea of manipulative marketing. So that information is very important because the fact that now your all of your information is with that person. And as we say, information is the new oil. It is the new oil. Uh-huh. Right, right. I'll be testing whether those algorithms are fair or not. Because my parameters are always law, justice, equity. So I always test. So when I give you the example of Amazon, oh, sorry, when I give you the example of the tech giant, which has shortlisted only not female, it was developed by someone person who know algorithms. But was it fair? Who brings the fairness? Yeah. I'm not saying I bring the fairness, but the law tries to. Are there any other questions? Sure. So I think we can end upon that note, ma'am. Yes.